Okay, so let's talk for a minute about this this strange thing that's coming back. You know what? It's not even that strange anymore because this is just how our society's become. We've become a nation and a society of sound bites, buzzwords, and social media where nobody's actually looking for what's really going on, and people don't want to understand things. They jump on even the people who are supposed to be experts, the journalists. People want to assume journalists are experts, but they're really not. They're journalists. They seek out information, and they're supposed to seek out enough that they give you a well-rounded, balanced story that's backed up by facts. But again, they don't do their due diligence, and ultimately their goal is clicks, views, ratings. They don't care. So I want to talk about this illegal immigrant who posted on TikTok, and it has gone viral now. And it's gone viral because, like I said, everybody wants to make a big spectacle about it and give him exactly what he wants, which is attention. He talks about the squatters' rights and the ability for illegals can just take any home they want. That's actually not how squatters' rights work. It's not. So the problem with what they're saying is, or what he's saying is that he says you could take any home you want, and then you could just stay there and no big deal, and nobody could do anything about it because of squatters' rights. Well, that's not, again, like I said, that's not exactly how squatters' rights work. So the truth is you can't break in and you can't just take it over. Squatters' rights protect those who have gone into a residence legally. So basically the idea of squatters' rights is it protects those people who fall on hard times from being forcefully removed, okay? I don't really know why. I haven't researched enough and looked far enough back to understand why it ever became a thing. But it's a thing in many states that say you move into a house or an apartment, or actually most apartments have junctions, but basically you move into a residence, and when you move into a residence, you are staying there, and then say you've been there for 5 months, 6 months, and then you stop paying your rent. But you've broken absolutely no laws. You haven't broken any other law. You have just stopped paying your rent. Now that sucks, and that's horrible. And there are things that the landlord, the owner, there are junctions they can put in place, and there are ways that they can eventually legally get you out of the house. But what sucks is it's such a process. Now, I don't understand why it's such a thing. It's such a strange law. It's so weird. But basically the idea is they can't forcibly remove you. They can't go in there and drag you out by your feet, kicking and screaming. Neither are the police allowed to do so. So because you can't forcibly be removed and they can't remove you, it's like a stalemate while the owner goes through these endless paperwork and everything with the courts and gets motions filed, injunctions, and gets you out of the house. But the thing is like I said, as long as you're staying there, they can't just walk in and drag you out. Now, if you are breaking any laws and the police know that you're there, then they can get a warrant to come in and arrest you, period. And so if you've gone into this residence illegally, that is a law that you've broken, even if you've done nothing else. And so that's not just applying to illegals. Illegals, they're already here illegally. That's their crime. Then they've gone into a house. That's yet another crime. But at the end of the day is, even if you or I, any of us, who are legal citizens, if you just walk up into a vacant house, you are now legally trespassing and you can be removed by the police. Just the act of you going inside without permission is illegally trespassing. Squatters' rights does not protect someone who is trespassed. Squatters' rights protect someone who has legally acquired entry and they just refuse to leave. And like I said, there are laws and there are junctions and there are mandates and processes and documents and paperwork that you can file, and you can get that person removed eventually, but you can't just snap your fingers and say, I own it, I'm going to drag them by their feet. And that seems so weird. It does in America, that how can we just not drag them out of our home or out of our building or out of our house or whatever? We own that property. We should be able to drag them out. That's what you want. That seems like justice to you, but it's a weird law. And so some people are like, oh, well, why can't we change these laws? Well, changing laws takes a lot of things, unfortunately. So will they change this law? I don't know. But does it apply to these illegals that are running across the border and charging through the border and finding ways to get in here, jump fences, tunnel in here, whatever, however they acquired their feet onto American soil? Can they just walk up into a vacant house and take it over? Absolutely not. That is not how squatters' rights work. So the fact that all these different people, I'm not going to drop any names. I'm not going to drop names, but there's plenty of politicians. There are plenty of, actually, I take that back. I actually haven't seen as many politicians. I've seen mostly so-called journalists and people who work with politicians. They're like, I work with so-and-so, and I can't believe we're not fixing this. So it's like people who work with politicians, so-called journalists, bloggers, all these different people. They're making a big deal, and everybody's pointing a finger. They did it. Everybody, oh, Biden is the one who did it. At the end of the day, there's a lot of fingers that can be pointed for why the border crisis is in the way it is. But to say that it's anyone's fault that these illegals have squatter rights, these illegals don't have squatter rights. That's buzz phrases, clickbait words. It's all nonsense because they don't actually have that ability. So if you're worried that there's a vacant house down the street from you and that somebody's going to just come on in and take it and there's nothing you can do because they'll have rights. No, they have no rights if they've trespassed. They've illegally trespassed on the property. They can be removed. So, anyways, I hope that gives you some perspective. Let's stop feeding into all the nonsense. Everybody says the word narrative. The word narrative is just story. I remember when I was a kid, people said you're telling stories, that means you were lying. The reality is that there's millions of narratives out there right now. They're just somebody's version of the story. Somebody's version. Now, some of them, yes, are outright lies. There are plenty of people who are outright lying. And some people are just too ignorant to know the truth. And it's sad. Because like I said, there are some people that I actually respect, that I actually like. And they quickly pointed the finger at Biden for allowing these illegal squatters' rights. These illegals don't have squatter rights. These people that I actually, like I said, again, I respected them. I mean, I still kind of do. I'm just a little disappointed that they've given in to we're in this fast-paced, instant gratification society where we need the information now. We have no time to wait for due process. We have no time to wait for people doing their due diligence. We have no time to wait for people to actually verify their data or information. Let's just put all the crap out there and just, it is what it is. It's sad, but this is the world we live in. And I blame the consumer. That's right. Blame the consumer. Because see, these journalists, these bloggers, these news channels, podcasts, social media, all of them are doing their job. Their job is not to inform. I would hope that they have more integrity than they have. But we've proven time and again that a lot of them are lacking integrity. And the more attention they get, the less integrity they have. So I would hope they have more integrity. But what the problem is that I blame the consumer because it's us. It's you and me. Joe Sixpack, man. It's the everyday person who decides to click on those links to make it go viral. It's the everyday person who clicks on the links and gives these journalists and bloggers and glorified information checkers. I say information because they're not checking facts. They're not verifying their information. They're just putting it out there. So, with that being said, stop giving them so much attention.